Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today we're going to be taking a look at Jamaica Medicinals. To help us with that is Katrina Glogowski. She's an attorney and angel investor. Thanks for being back with us.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, so diving right into Jamaica Medicinals, lab-tested organic opportunity. So the first slide looks like a nice little map of where it's at. That's good in case you didn't know. Looks like we're working with Tilray for exports. This might be a first. There is a news clipping from the New York Times in here with some handwritten notes on here for Tilray and Canopy Growth stock quote.
I've never seen this before. Good for you for surprising me, Jamaica Medicinals.
Yes. Jamaica is different. We can understand that. They have some opportunities here that they've kind of written out here in long form. With an executive summary, it's an opportunity to identify the Jamaican marijuana and hemp industry. And so this is to outline the overall opportunity and detail the initial phase of operations. So they talk about an opportunity overview for US-based private holding company to invest in the emerging cannabis and hemp industry with investment operations in Jamaica. A seed-to-sale production chain to include but not limited to financing and insurance, tourism, real estate. So basically a blank check company.
Yeah, well, a holding company is a holding company.
Okay. So the initial opportunity is to get in. They've been in the ground floor since 2016 and ready to engage in a space. So they plan to cultivate and distribute lab-tested cannabis and hemp. I'm just waiting for the LOI. So they're going to work with the government to create a legal framework. So they don't even have a legal framework for medical cannabis. I would not put that in the deck. But once they've set the standard, then they're going to start doing stuff.
Okay. Well, let's proceed, Josh. Maybe there's something here that we're missing. Or maybe this will be a quick one.
This is a learning experience, if nothing else. So
yes.
I mean, with the handwritten, I should have probably just waved it off right away or just stopped. But I think this is going to be a case of what not to do. This reminds me of something that I set up, in the early 90s when I was in high school, or maybe even junior high as an initial business plan.
Josh, are you going to tell us how you set up your lemonade stand when you were 12?
I'll show you that deck next week. Yeah. The global cannabis market, outdated already. This is over 2 years old, so we'll just skip that and the U.S. Talking about Schedule 1, issues with U.S. business owners are unable to write yet. That's the industry. So why Jamaica? Beyond the branding that the nation has and built on high-quality ganja, they see advantages to conducting operations, including increased foreign investment, Jamaican government assistance, maybe, geography, climate, and cost. And they have the most relaxed perspective on cannabis across the world. Is that true?
I'm not that familiar with the Jamaican legalization of cannabis, but according to this, they allow export. So that's what I'm interested in. So is there a way to skip to the let's export cannabis? Let's see. Where are they going to export it to, though, Josh?
Canada is the only place you're going to be able to really export it to. So apparently there's some heavy investment from the Chinese investing in agriculture. I don't know if that's probably not Canada specific. They're talking about luxury hotels, 1.5 billion into deep port. So they're just trying to tell you that there's some infrastructure and that it's a decent place to invest in generally. But I haven't seen really anything that compares to Puerto Rico, for example, with 4% corporate tax cap, 50% tax credits, 100% tax exemptions. There's some custom tariffs that have 0% duty on capital equipment and raw materials, but they have the same climate that Puerto Rico has, and I haven't seen any competitive advantages, maybe for a Canadian company, but not for a U.S. company.
Geographic advantages, climate advantages, cost advantages of production. 1 pound of premium ganja is $150 to $200 a pound in Jamaica.
Cost of goods sold, that's pretty good.
So they're claiming 80% savings in Jamaica. There we go. There's something I can take away. So that's good. So for this particular plan, there's initial farm organic cannabis hemp cultivation distribution. Their first priority is to complete the farm. So they have 1.5 acres, and another 86 available.
That's a nice tier 1 in Washington.
Very small, so yeah, I would think that'd be a great opportunity to keep that local. That there's no opportunity to export any of that, I wouldn't imagine.
Not with only an acre, but you never know. Maybe they can do 12 grows a year.
So they need to receive licenses in order to get a tier 2 and tier 3 and extraction and research and development and a license for exporting.
So this is a company trying to raise money where they don't even have the licenses yet.
Right.
Well, Josh, as we've seen in some of these other podcasts, I'm not a fan of that as an investor. Why would I give you money before you have the license?
They still have to locate and lease a home base for operations, and they have to identify American master growers to provide years of experience. I know one of those master growers from Washington that is in Jamaica right now and wasn't able to make it himself from the medical days when anybody could do whatever they wanted to the regulated marketplace. He couldn't make that transition, and he's in Jamaica. So I don't know.
All right, so they have a yield breakdown with strains that'll average 1.5 to 2.5 pounds per plant.
That's average, Josh.
That's not bad. So they're going to get a minimum of 4 to 5 grows a year. There's obviously annual continuous growing down there, which is nice.
That's what we like about Colombia. The outdoor grow allows multiple harvests per year, so that's good.
So they expect the wholesale price to be between $250 and $600 a pound. So that's I think it's probably gonna be half that, because what we're seeing in Oregon is around $300 a pound. And so I'm seeing $30 to $40 ounces. So in order to do that and make money at the retail level, either you're growing it yourself or you're buying it for next to nothing.
At least they're not saying $2,500 a pound, Josh. We've seen some pitch decks that they have some super premium weed that's going to go for $1 million.
Yeah, Philly and New York, they both think they're going to get $7,000 for a pound of flower and $13,000 or $18,000 for a kilo of water soluble CBD. So people are investing in those types of figures. 1 acre grow is supposed to have a revenue of $2.3 million, and the 5 acre grow is supposed to get $11.5 million.
You know, that would be conceivable under highly optimal conditions. If they do get 4 grows a year, if each one of their plants does give 2.5 pounds, if all 950 of their plants per acre produce the 2.5 pounds, so I think that's a little high, but again, the Jamaican climate might allow for that.
It could, if they had the right cultivar, if they had a popular strain, wedding cake, or the next Blue Dream, whatever it is, then they could bring in premium prices for outdoor, which is generally not premium prices. So yeah, we'll see.
So they've got some intellectual property. They've got some sativa strains. Took 9 years to develop. So they want to trademark that and sell it. It's been going around some cannabis cups.
So they have some of their own unique strains here. That's nice.
Yeah, they have apparently some joints, 5 strains of cannabis, 5 strains of trichomes, Rick Simpson oil, a couple of CBD strains.
Now this is interesting. They're aging their product. That's a new one. I haven't really seen a lot of aging on the market. I wonder if they have a cure process or if they truly have an aging process. That'd be interesting.
Trademarks and patents in the process. So their current valuation is $5.7 million. They're offering a 20% equity share for $1 million with a convertible note, 9% for 2 years, and the option to convert that into equity or cash out. They want a partner or investor to bring finance and expertise for processing, extraction, R&D, branding, just about everything else.
Josh, the current valuation of $5.75 million, if they are saying, give me $1 million, I'll give you 20%, yeah, maybe. My $1 million for 20% could go to a different company, though. So
Yeah, if that was backed by property, plant, or equipment, land, maybe.
Land.
I mean, there has to be something where it'd be more of a debt offering. I think if you're going to do something like this, it needs to be backed by some land. They want to use the funds to build out a farm, capital equipment, salaries, basically to start up. So, I mean, at this point in time, maybe if this was 2015, this would take off. 2016 even, maybe even 2017 if you found a naive or an early investor who hadn't really learned the ropes yet. But not now. There's not anybody I know that's going to invest in something that without the experience, without the licenses, without government approval. And their exit strategy is to sell the company or an IPO. So I'm not even going to ask you if you're going to invest in this because I know the answer, but I hope that anybody listening or watching will take this as an example of what's really required for a business plan beyond this. This is
I must say, to compliment them, they did go into cost of goods sold quite extensively, which is actually nice to see. We don't see a lot of that. People don't think ahead of time how much it's going to cost to grow. So that's good. They do describe their team. That's nice.
So with that, let's jump into the 7 tips of a successful investment deck and see where this Jamaican business plan lies.
Number 1, identify business plan goals. They basically told us that they want to start a cannabis company.
That is a goal. I want to start.
They identified the plan. I guess we can give them a point for that. Do they know their audience?
That I think is where they fail. If they're going for an investment audience, their deck is confusing and not organized.
Yeah, I would say they definitely don't know the investment audience. I think they understand cannabis. That's pretty obvious, but they didn't present this deck to the appropriate audience of investors. They understand the market, I think, to a degree. They know what they need. They're immersed in the culture. I just think that whoever wrote this deck could have done a better job explaining that.
Yeah, well, they have their own strains. They got it down on their cost of goods sold. Whether they can get to those costs of goods sold is another question, but they did identify that they have some knowledge of the actual market.
So out of this 32-page deck, did you see anything about needs and roadblocks?
I think their big need is the license. They didn't talk about the competitive landscape outside of their unique strains. They did identify that they have some individual strains special to them, but I think most cannabis growers claim to have their own strains as well. But their biggest need is the license.
Right. So yeah, I didn't really see anything. They did kind of go through it a little bit, maybe half a point for that.
Half a point for the need.
Do they know what sets the business apart?
I don't really think they did well in this area. They did talk about their strains. They did talk about keeping the costs down, but other than that,
this section that talked about their strains that they have, that was good. But they literally had a portion where it was supposed to be what sets them apart, and it failed miserably by comparison from an American investor. They don't even compete to Puerto Rico. They have the same climate, same, or essentially almost the same labor costs due to the tax advantages. So I'm not really sure that they highlighted the business aspects, just their IP or strains or whatever. So maybe half a point for that. They did introduce the team somewhere, probably around the 28th slide or
right at the end.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, do they have products?
They did talk about their strains.
Right.
They did talk about the clandestine joints.
Okay.
There was no pictures of them, no packaging, no branding provided outside of the name of the strains. So I guess they have a product.
And create a summary or?
Yeah, their summary is sell the company, which is excellent.
That's pretty good.
But they did have an ask. They did say,
Yeah.
I want $1 million, and they're going to give 20% equity in the company for that $1 million. They did ask specifically for people with more experience maybe than they have. That was in the deck. And in exchange, if you have more experience, they'd be willing to give you more equity. So I'm going to say they get a half a point there. They didn't do it well, but it was in there.
So they got a 50%. They get about 3.5 leaves out of 7. So, the scoring system isn't perfect. So even though they should get a 0, in my opinion, or 0 money, they still meet at least half of our requirements. But it needs to be done much, much better if they're going to get American capital, or anybody from North America seeing the stack is not going to invest without some further edits.
I agree. Maybe the individual who did this doesn't have the typical PowerPoint Google Sheets at their disposal,
Right.
And the graphics were definitely lacking. But the information was there. My advice to Jamaica Medicinals is to cut this in half, and if you don't have the technology to put the deck together, just change it up, make it more of an executive summary so we don't have to go through all the pages to find the information. But I did kind of like the information that I did find. I would not invest in this company, primarily because you don't have the licenses yet. But at the same time, I'm going to give it an A for effort, but the execution was quite poor.
Yeah, I think this probably would have sold itself around 2015. If you just have an idea and you don't have licenses and you haven't grown, it was so new and early that people were willing to take on that added risk. But as businesses are failing, it's way too easy to come in and take over existing businesses for pennies on the dollar, to the point where this doesn't make sense anymore. So the timing is off significantly by almost half a decade, where this feels like it was written to the point where it should sell itself. And like I said, it's just the wrong time.
But good for Jamaica coming on board, good for Jamaica for trying to get into the international market, and good for these people for at least getting out there. I wish you luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you need somebody to set up a business plan or whatever, go to Fiverr. You can spend literally $5 on Fiverr. Send people some information. They'll put it into a more professional deck, because the whole handwritten part from 2018 is fairly outdated. But a decent attempt at 3.5 leaves. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. I want to thank my guest, Katrina Glogowski. She's an attorney and angel investor. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Josh.
I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.